Liz, are you there?
Carla's here now.
Okay, Carla's here.
Yeah.
Liz?
Okay.
And Larry? So did I hear Liz? Liz, are you there? It's not.
She might be late.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if she didn't call or anything, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, I didn't talk
she's
to her.
late. So someone just joined, so.
Okay.
I think I'm on.
Is that you, Liz?
No, that's Carla probably. I just said
okay.
I think I'm on. I wanted to try to.
Sorry, this is Liz. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll, everybody's here. Larry's still not here, correct? Okay, I don't believe Larry's here, so I think we can probably continue then. We're going to go approval of the regular meeting minutes of March 9th, 2020. The policy committee meeting minutes of March 11th of 2020. Meetings of special board meeting of March 18th, 2020. Transportation committee meeting minutes of April 9th, 2020. Curriculum committee meeting minutes of April 9th, 2020. Facilities committee meeting minutes of April 9th, 2020. And personnel committee meeting minutes of April 9th, 2020. I will need a motion to accept them.
Hey, Paul, this is Liz. I just wanted to let everybody know I do have a couple updates for the curriculum committee. Nothing substantive or, as we know, no official motion. So I'll send those to Marla.
No problem.
With those edits, I would recommend approval.
Okay. Can I get a second?
Sure, I'll second them, Miss Carla.
And before we proceed, if I could just remind everyone that unless you are speaking, to keep your phone on mute, because that's where all the feedback noise comes from.
Okay, and then this is Marla, and I may ask who is speaking because sometimes I'm not recognizing voices. So I'm going to do a roll call on the approval of the minutes that Mr. Goldrick just indicated. Weissel?
Yes.
Lucius?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Pappas?
Yes.
Mazurik?
Yes.
Goldrick?
Yes.
And is Larry here yet? Okay, I thought maybe I saw him join before. Okay.
And it's
Marla, can I ask you what administrators are here? Which ones?
I'm
All
not sure.
administrators are present.
What?
They're all present.
All administrators,
are present.
Except for the special ed coordinator? She doesn't usually come.
I believe she is online as well.
Okay. All right, we're going to move on to approval of executive session meeting minutes of March 9th, 2020.
Liz, so moved.
Carla, second.
Okay, roll call. Duchess,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Pappas,
Yes.
Missouri,
Yes.
Goldrick,
Yes.
and Weissel.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Is Mike Peters is he on the line also?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I know everybody got a copy in their packet of the expense report. Does anybody have any questions? I don't think we really need to go through it if everybody has a copy already. If nobody has any questions, can I get a motion for approval?
I have a question, Paul.
Okay.
Marla, could you remind me what the Epic Communications amounts are for?
Epic. It's the E-rate communications. We pay for E-rate, our phone bills, things like that. The Joe Duncan will complete reports, and we receive E-rate funds back.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
With that, I'll move to approve the April 2020 expenses.
Second.
Second.
Pappas, okay. Roll call. Hernandez,
Yes.
Pappas,
Yes.
Missouri,
Yes.
Goldrick,
Yes.
Herman, no, Weissel,
Yes.
Duchess.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay.
Okay,
Does
now
anybody have
probably
any-
Mike, huh? For the
Sorry
treasurer's
about
report?
that.
That's okay.
Does anybody have any questions for Mike? If not, I'd like to have a motion we can approve the treasurer's report that is in your packet.
Motion by Pappas.
Second, Duchess.
Okay, roll call. Pappas,
Yes.
Missouri,
Yes.
Goldrick,
Yes.
Weissel,
Yes.
Duchess,
Yes.
and Hernandez.
Yes.
Motion
And
carried.
before we move on, I just wanted to take a minute, as we've been doing every month. I want to take the opportunity at the treasurer's report to use that as a spot check on our financial health over the last 12 months. And so if you look at the all fund balances at the end of March compared to where we were 12 months ago, that number shrank by $189,000, which is very similar to where we were last month. So to put that in kind of a summary sentence, that means in the last 12 months we've had to take $189,000 out of our savings to run the district.
All right.
Mr. Cox,
Mike,
as
you
far
still-
as another financial update, are you providing any more information in other items on the agenda, or is this the only opportunity to discuss other finance-related questions?
I was going to address that in my report later in the meeting.
Okay, thank you. That was Liz.
Okay, very good. Do we have anything else on treasurer's report? Everything okay then? Okay. Mike, thank you very much. I guess we'll move on to guests. Do we have any guests that would like to make a comment tonight?
Yes, I would. Adriana Tetrenko.
Okay.
First, I just say from at least having a child in the elementary and the junior high, the teachers have been wonderful with the remote learning and, getting back to the kids, answering questions and of that nature. And I was listening in on the committee meetings, and we really do appreciate a lot of the changes the administrators of the buildings have been making to make this easier. I know as a teacher, this is not something we're used to, and it's kind of like jumping in like MacGyver style. But over the last year of attending a number of the committee meetings, there just seems to be, at least from some board conversations and just some things that were brought up, a level of stalling when it comes to hiring a lot of the staff that is necessary to run the building effectively, as well as to address the student needs. And it just is concerning as a teacher, especially, that we're at the end of April. And it seems like there is some needs, like special ed teachers, renewing administrative contracts like the superintendent, that we haven't seen in these board minutes of having a job posted, starting the interview process, that many districts have gone through nationwide searches. These are not positions you just fill at the drop of a hat. It's not like a business where people are consistently looking for employment. At this rate, teachers are getting jobs already. Administrators are signing contracts and are already looking at that new building. And that there just seems to be a lot of stalling and waiting and wait and see when time is now. It's end of April. You know, people need to get in place to continue to do the jobs that they're doing, as well as continue to be allowed to lead the district in the direction that it appears to be going, which is in a lot more positive in the 14 years that my kids have been, that we've been here. You know, there's a lot of good things that have been happening in the last 2 years. And I guess it's just concerning to know that we're at the end of April and decisions that should have been made months ago don't appear to be making. So I would hope as a parent and community member that board members are realizing the urgency that some of these hirings need to happen, because we're at the end of a school year, at least in terms of employment for a lot of people. So I would just hope that we realize we're helping with the education in a school building, not running a business. That's all. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Do we have any other guest speakers?
Hi, Paul. This is Liz. I'll summarize again. I had read a letter at one of the committee meetings, but wanted to follow because there were a couple questions that were asked to be addressed publicly. So I'll summarize those for the benefit of this meeting as well. This was in the context of the remote learning program, as well as ISBE guidance that was issued over the last few weeks. So the follow-up questions are, if Beecher has no approved e-learning program and we are disregarding ISBE recommendations for remote learning, what model are we following? The next question was, is that really the first thing they should be worried about right now? And then please shed some light on how ignoring them would benefit my children, the children of my neighbors. Will Beecher be taking any of the recommendations into consideration, and which ones will be rejected? So just wanted to reiterate that we think adjustments also have been made, since some of this information was released, but something for us to reflect on as we begin to plan for the future as well. Also, again, that was in response to some feedback from the community. And second, as a board member, to reiterate again, to all of our team, administration, staff, all of our employees, the effort around the COVID-19 planning and execution that has happened over the last 3 days or so, and will continue to happen at least for the near future. So thank you for that, and we support you. I support you in this effort, and if there's something that you need that I can do, please feel free to reach out, as well as open to the community. So thank you again for the team on that.
Very good. Okay. If not, we're going to move on to staff reports. With the staff reports, everybody has that in their packet also. I'm just going to ask if anybody has any questions for Mrs. Black, we'll go ahead and do that now, and we'll move on to Mr. Myers and Mr. Gaham. Does anybody have any questions for Mrs. Black? Okay. Do you have any questions for Mr. Meyer?
Are they going to be going over their report or no? This is happening.
No, they were all in your packet. I was hoping
Okay.
everybody actually looked at them, and we were just going to ask questions if anybody had any questions.
Okay.
So, does anybody have any questions for Mrs. Black?
Hey, Paul. Hey, Paul. Their report is it's available to us, but if you have people listening, it's not available to them, as it would be in a regular board meeting. Just point that out.
Fair. Okay. All right, does anybody have any questions for Mr. Meyer? Anybody have any questions for Mr. Gahan? Mr. Cox, do you have anything?
Yeah. Excuse me. I would like to address a few things. First of all, I wanted to make sure that everybody was aware that that the remote engagement plan that we have in place not only is in the board members' Dropbox, but it can also be found online on the website. We have a specific tab designated to all COVID-19 updates, and our current remote engagement model can be found at that spot. We wanted to take a minute to respond to some of Liz's questions that she was kind enough to provide. The question is that if Beecher has no approved e-learning program, are we disregarding ISB recommendations for remote learning, and what model are we following? Actually, Beecher's e-learning plan was submitted to and accepted by the ROE on March 20th. This plan mirrors the early direction of Beecher's remote engagement plan. In the weeks that schools have been closed, the Beecher remote engagement plan continues to evolve to accommodate student and family needs within the framework of a continued learning environment. And Beecher is not disregarding all of the ISB recommendations on remote learning. ISB is in the difficult position of providing a single set of recommendations for the entire state. Really, they have an eye towards equity. In some districts, not all students have technology hardware at home, and not all students have internet access. We're very fortunate for our students and families that that's not the case in Beecher. However, we do feel that it's important to have a higher standard on grading than the one that ISB has put in place, which is essentially making all student work extra credit. In that model, there's no incentive for students to do any work at all, and that would actually run counter to some of ISB's other recommendations. Another question is that really the first thing that they should be worried about right now? I assume the question is getting work done the first thing that students and families should be worried about right now. My answer to that is absolutely not. The health and safety of our family and loved ones is always our primary concern. My wife is currently quarantined at home with a positive COVID-19 test. Do you think that every assignment that was sent to the Cox house in the last 2 weeks got done? Nope, it didn't. I exercised my right as a parent to prioritize and just finish the assessments that were to be graded. Our teachers are communicating all of that very well, and very proud of them. And so even in that circumstance as a parent, and as chaotic as that is, I was glad that my kids had that structure. We're also in the process of working out mechanisms and mechanics to check on student mental health, because that's something that is going to be very important to keep a close eye on and provide students and parents with not only the resources of our own faculty, but also outside resources if they might need them. Please shed some light on how ignoring ISB recommendations benefit my children and the children of my neighbors. Will Beecher be taking any recommendations into consideration? Which ones will be rejected? Once again, having a more rigorous grading system than ISB's system of extra credit is meant to help children be engaged and active, to provide some structure in their lives during a very unusual situation. And actually keeping kids active and engaged in the learning process is another one of ISB's recommendations. kids definitely need some structure in their lives, and that's something that we're trying to provide for our families. Trust me, this is going to be a long 2 months until the end of the school year with our kids at home, because I'm going to be under the assumption that that's what's going to happen. And that's a challenge for our families. And when you look at this in the big picture, at the end of May, then it's another 2 months of summer vacation with kids at home. And quite frankly, there's no guarantee that we're going to start August under our old normal model of kids coming to school. And so at the end of the day, all students have the option of not doing any work. And in almost all cases, those children will still move on to the next grade level. But thankfully, the vast majority of our families either understand and or appreciate that the school providing their kids something to do is positive for everybody involved. We have well over 90% of our students engaged in grades K through 12, with the junior high actually at 99% engagement. And these numbers continue to pick up every week. Nearly all other ISD recommendations are a part of the current Beecher plan. ISD recommendations, they recommend a scaled back student workload. And even though we aren't counting minutes particularly, this is something that we're doing, monitoring that workload. ISD allows for teacher planning days, so students are not doing 5 days, are not working 5 days a week, something we're also doing. ISD focuses on equal access to learning for all students, a continuation of the school lunch program for free and reduced lunch students, focusing learning on critical standards, minimizing instructional loss, and giving students, families routine and structure. And we're doing all of those things. So I think it's very fair to say that the vast majority of all the recommendations and guidelines that the ISD has put forward are something that we're very much paying attention to and implementing in what we're doing.
Very good.
I also wanted to take a minute to provide a quick update, financial update. At the end of the third quarter, we just ended our third fiscal quarter, and so projecting where we have come so far in the first 9 months, it looks like we're trending to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $40,000 over budget in all funds on the expenditure side. Our revenue is actually trending some $800,000 over budget, and if that actually comes to fruition, we'll actually balance this year's budget. But with our reliance on local property taxes, I have to think that the county, through no fault of their own, obviously this is a unique situation, I have to think that local property tax collection might be delayed a little bit. And so since how that money hits our bank account in May and June is a big part of what that end-of-year revenue looks like, I think that's something that we're going to have to watch closely.
Very good. Thank you, Brad. Brad, I wish the best for you and your family and a very speedy recovery.
Thanks, Paul. I really appreciate that.
Hey, Brad, I just want to thank you for reaching out to that parent that had that concern and reaching back to her in a timely fashion. It was really appreciated.
Of course, one of the things that has been so great, and I hate to use that word, but one of the kind of silver lining things has been the increased communication between school at home. As at the school, we really value that parent feedback, and it's just like anything else. A lot of times, people aren't. There might be times where people don't 100% love the answer that they get, but we're trying to be consistent. We're trying to be supportive. We're trying to continually evolve our program to make sure that students and families are supported in every way that we can think of and can put into place. So anybody who's listening, and please continue to tell people to continue to communicate, and together we'll get through this.
Very good.
It's Katniss. I just wanted to thank you for all of the feedback and everything that you've done to listen to the community and what they'd like to see, for workload and everything like that. That's one thing that I'm hearing from a lot of parents is that as feedback has been given, you have listened to that and helped the staff to modify. So I'd like to compliment you on that as well. And I just, from everybody that I'm hearing between staff and parents alike, your leadership has been very appreciated.
Thanks so much.
This is Liz. I have a couple comments on adding to the focus on communication, as I stated at the beginning as well. So expect that to continue, and thank everybody for their commitment so far. In addition, healthy and safe wishes for your family and the continued recovery there. I also had a couple follow-ups on the financial update, Mr. Cox. If you could give us any other insight into information or other things that we're watching in terms of metrics or to watch income, whether it's at the state or local levels. What are some things that we're watching there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we always continue to, on the revenue side, we continue to look at how money flows through the state. And, you know, we have, to this point, we have not received any indication that there's going to be any change in that. We haven't received anything official from the county that there might be issues there. But just kind of the human nature of things, I think that's something that we need to be cognizant of, because that's a very arduous task for that department, and we know that they're working their best to try to get things done. On the expenditure side, it's yes, we continue to have our normal personnel costs, but quite frankly, there are some other kind of day-to-day expenditures that are not taking place with not having anybody on campus, and so I don't know if that's going to be a significant cost savings, but it will definitely offset the things that we have had to have kind of unusual expenditures on, like making sure that all of our families who didn't have internet, we provided free internet hotspots to those families, and so obviously there's cost affiliated with that. And so I don't think that we're going to have any large increase in financial impact because of this situation.
Okay. And in terms of timing, if our revenue is delayed, can you quantify and walk us through, like, what would be the impact, and are we going to cover that?
Yeah, and so the impact of delayed revenues is really accounting. It's really just bookwork. If we get into a spot where we have $1 million that we would normally get in local tax revenue, if we would normally get that in June, but we don't get that till July or August, we still get that money. It's
right.
Just that our books close at the end of June. And so if we don't get that $1 million, then it makes our end of year numbers skewed. It makes it look as though it doesn't give us a true indication of what that fiscal year looks like. And then on the other side, if we have, we're just using, made up numbers here, but if we have $1 million that we get in July and August of the following year, then consequently it makes the following year look artificially good. So we just need to be cognizant of that and what that looks like.
Okay, and if we had to cover then the next April, May, and June in terms of expenses, what does that look like, and do we have the resources for that, given our financial situation?
I mean, that's one of the positives about carrying a fund balance. Most school districts, and we've spent some time talking about this. Most school districts would love to have 90 days worth of money in the bank. At the ISBE kind of gold standard is 180 days of money in the bank, or 50% of a year's spending. And so for us, if in ballpark figures, 50% for us would be, on a $14 million budget, it'd be about $7 million in the bank for the ISB gold standard on that. And we're fortunate enough, we just had the Treasurer's report, and at the end of this last month, we had $11.8 million in the bank, and it's spending, $1 million a month. We could not have another dime of revenue for the next almost year and be fine. And so, anytime your fund balances dip, might you have a little, loss in investment revenue or things like, well, yeah, but, if you've been paying attention to what our investment return rates are right now, along with everybody else, that's not a huge hit either. So.
Okay, thank you. I think the comfort from that is that we have, funds to cover us temporarily, at least through June, if not longer, than on your comments. So I think that that's important for the board and others to know as well. Thanks for that.
Mr. Cox, it's Carla. I have a question about if the spring season doesn't happen for the sports, will you be refunding the money for that?
Yeah, that hasn't been a conversation that we've had, but we can definitely have that. We can look into where that is and what that looks like. That's a good point. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Move on to old business. I don't believe we have any old business, so we will move on to new business. And we're going to action to accept the resignation. Yes.
The old business, I just wanted to make a statement because I see it's on under a number 11 new business under railroad pedestrian crossing. I believe this came out of a prior meeting. I wasn't able to make this last one. But I just want to make it clear that on the railroad pedestrian crossing, the village is going to go into a quiet zone here, and we have kids that cross those railroad tracks. And I don't understand. I see it barely written on the agenda, railroad pedestrian crossing, so I'm not really understanding what's up on that in regards to that. But I just want to make it clear real fast that the reason I'm bringing this up is because we do have little children and other children that walk across to the elementary, across those railroad tracks in a quiet zone. I mean, yeah, we have gates, but we have kids that walk across them. And I still want us as a school board to also recognize the dangers of that quiet zone for our children.
Very good. No, I do get you, Ron, and I know there has been discussion about that. I know that Marla and Mr. Cox have been looking into that, and they're trying to come up with some kind of safety measures to be taken when and if that happens. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thanks.
Very good. Okay. We'll move on to this then. Action to accept the resignation of Christian Payne as high school co-head community coach.
What? Hey, Paul, can I get some direction on a special education teacher?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have. Hang on one second. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, A is special education teacher.
Yeah, and so I understand that this was a part of a conversation from the committee meeting Thursday night. I very much appreciate everybody carrying the water for me. I've got a great administrative team, and I know that we've got a great team of teachers and staff that have been doing a great job, and so I appreciate everybody's help last week. I just want to make sure that I have the understanding that from the conversation moving forward, it's a committee recommendation that we spend the next few weeks looking to see if we can't bring a recommendation to the board to hire a special education teacher at the junior high. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. If that's the case, when we get to B3, the hiring of Daniel Winter, if we could make that motion actually a little more generic and make it so that he's hired as a special education teacher, that way continues to give us that flexibility of exactly where we have personnel assigned. Thank you.
Okay. Very good. Okay. All right, so we'll move on to action to accept the resignation of Christine Payne, a high school co-head cheerleading coach.
So move, Missouri.
Just second.
Okay, roll call. Missouri,
Yes.
Goldrick,
Yes.
Weissel,
Yes.
Lucius,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Pappas,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay. I'll need a action to approve the employment of Regina Stanlis as a elementary bilingual teacher beginning the 2020-2021 school year.
So move, Missouri.
Lucius, second.
Okay, roll call. Goldrick,
Yes.
Weissel,
Yes.
Lucius,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Pappas,
Yes.
Missouri,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay. Action to approve the employment of Daniel Winter as a special ed teacher. Is that how you wanted to say it, Mr. Cox?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, beginning the 2020-2021 school year.
So move, Missouri.
Wait, can I ask a few questions?
Sure.
Because I don't think this was part of the discussion previously, but as I followed it in the committee, we were adding a special education teacher for the junior high. So then what is the cross-categorical teacher? Is that not... I thought that was for two separate buildings and two different positions. Can you please clarify, Mr. Cox?
Certainly. And so we've been given the ability by the board to move forward with adding a second cross-cat classroom at the elementary school.
Right.
And so if we do not add, if we don't end up for some reason adding another special ed teacher at the junior high, then this would give us the flexibility to put Mr. Winter into the cross-cat position. But if we move forward and hire another special ed teacher, and that position and that person that we look at for that, we think might fit better in the cross-cat and Mr. Winter at the junior high, then allows the flexibility for that. So as we get this approval tonight, we will be, solidifying that cross-cat program. And then as we continue to have conversations and bring a recommendation to the board at the May board meeting about another special ed teacher, then that will be solidifying increased special ed support for those students at the junior high.
Hey, Brad. This is Missouri. We have our special education coordinator has reached out to you, I'm sure, because you guys have those meetings. And has she personally said that she needed more special education teachers?
So the conversation,
yes,
in particular about the junior high is one about the support of our special ed students. It's also about the support. It's also about the support of our general ed students. As you know, we are in the process of really cementing and transitioning the very successful RTI program that the elementary school has had for years. And we have very much clearly recognized that we have students, both general education and special education, that are in need and can definitely benefit from additional supports. And so Currently, there are 2 special education teachers at the junior high, and adding a 3rd one would not only allow us for better support for our special education students, but it will allow us to implement an RTI model for all of our students that will get them additional help in math and English language arts, which, are the cornerstones of which everything is built on. And so we're trying to do everything we can to support those kids.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. I'm proud to see that on the agenda. Okay.
I just have a question because I know that we approved that for personnel. How soon could you see posting that job? Because as Adriana mentioned earlier, I am concerned about us being able to fill that position the later this goes.
Yep, we'll get that soon. We'll get that position posted right away, Julie.
So are we
thank you.
reposting then the cross-cat role? Is that what you're saying?
No, we'll be posting for a special ed teacher. We will post that as grades K through 8, so we will be able to sweep a wide swath of applicants that might be interested. Then narrow that down to figure out how to best put personnel in place.
Okay. So Mr. Winter does not need a specific assignment at the time of his offer then? Is that? If we're going to offer him a special ed teacher, then it's flexible, like you just mentioned, to mirror the position that'll be posted K through 8?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was answering you and didn't unmute myself. That's work. Okay. So in most instances, when the board hires a staff member, they do it in the bilingual teacher.
Can't hear you, Mr. Cox.
Because it is a bilingual position specifically. Most of the time, teachers are hired just as a teacher because one of the things that teachers tend to do over time is to move around. And so if we hire somebody as a 2nd grade teacher, we wouldn't want to not have the flexibility to move staff members around as needed.
Do I have a motion?
Just a gentle reminder to make sure that everybody is staying muted. We couldn't hear Mr. Cox in the last one. I don't know if he was, if there was a bad connection or whatever, but there may be people who are still not muting their phones.
Do you need me to repeat that? Is that more clear?
That's much better, Mr. Cox. If you could please repeat.
Certainly.
Thank you.
We'll get this. We'll get the technology figured out. Let me tell you. So the with respect to the cross-categorical teacher, actually most of the time that the school board employs a teacher or a staff member of any kind, actually, there really isn't it really isn't specific as with respect to what they're going to be teaching or doing. The bilingual teacher is pretty unique because that's exactly what we're hiring that person for. With respect to special education or a cook or a bus driver, we hire employees in a generic capacity because as we move through the years, we very often need to move people around. 2nd grade teachers become 4th grade teachers, 5th grade teachers become 8th grade teachers, and so hiring Mr. Winter in an employment of a special education teacher then allows us that future flexibility.
Thank you for that.
Okay, very good. Do I have a motion to approve the employment of Daniel Winter?
So move.
Second, Pappas?
Okay, roll call. Weissel?
Yes.
Lucius?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Pappas?
Yes.
Missouri?
Yes.
Goldrick?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Action to approve 10-year for the following teachers. I have Jennifer Barber, Alicia Sedner, Elizabeth Chappell, Sean Daly, Rachel Dole, Aline Galiva, and Tammy Garnett.
So move.
Beecher, second.
Okay, roll call. Weissel?
Yes.
Dushis?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Pappas?
Yes.
Mazurik?
Yes.
Goldbrick?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Flooring and ceiling bid. Action to approve the flooring and ceiling replacement bid to Precise Control System in the amount of $210,244.
Hey, Paul, you skipped C and D.
I'm sorry?
Paul, you skipped C and D.
All right, hang on. Oh, the railroad protect. Trying to see here. For policy on D.
Yeah,
You have C and D on the agenda.
I know that at the last policy committee meeting, there were 2 items recommended to the school board for a continued conversation, railroad pedestrian crossing and policy 200. And Ron, you were chairing that committee. If you could kind of take that over and walk us through those.
Okay. On the railroad pedestrian crossing, as I stated before, the village is going to a quiet zone there, and it should affect Hodges and Penfield. Don't quote me 100%, but I do believe that we do have children on the west end of town. I know buses do come through there, and we have children that are going to be crossing those railroad tracks. And I thought that it would be that we put in 2 stops at the minimum on that side for our children on that side that are going to the elementary, because we do have young kids on this side of town. And under policy, under D, we don't have, we put in recording and audio, but we never put in anything in regards to the destruction of those, as we do with executive meetings and stuff like that. And I was thinking 18 months, and the committee moved it out, I do believe, to the board. So if everybody has any questions, please ask.
Yeah. Follow up on the railroad pedestrian crossing. When Marla and I did our research into that, about a decade ago, we looked into this. I believe, and Marla, you can add it correct here, but I believe we actually went so far as to look into this with the state, and I believe that they ruled that, I mean, obviously, as a district, we can transport whatever students we choose to. I believe at that point in time, the state said that they would not authorize the railroad tracks as an unsafe zone. You know, maybe that's something that we need to reapproach with them if the railroad tracks are now going to be a quiet zone. But at the end of the day, what that means is that the handful of students that we would go over and pick up and drop off, we would not be allowed to claim reimbursement for them. You know, I don't have an exact calculation of what that would look like. You know, if it's just a handful of students, then that's not a huge financial impact. But I do know that we have had this conversation in the past, and the state has not allowed us to get reimbursement for that. And quite frankly, if the board says that we want those kids to be picked up, reimbursement or not, then that's definitely direction and something that we can take care of. We just need that direction on that.
Yeah. What was the, I mean, in all due regards, as we are on this board meeting, I wasn't there, but the railroad pedestrian crossing, when you have those tracks there, I mean, we're less than a half a mile from the school, so I don't really understand the finances over safety, but I'll leave it there.
Okay. Very good. Okay. Any other questions on that?
I didn't hear what you said, Paul. What?
Do we have any other questions on that, or if we move on to flooring and the ceiling bed? Okay.
Ron, sorry, I was on mute. Liz, Ron, can you answer, is there any updates from the village on any ordinance or plans for rerouting, around the crossings?
I can't answer that for you, Liz. I don't have that information, but I do believe that crossing is supposed to come in the fall, my understanding. So we'll see from there, but I think safety over finances for our children.
Right. Just didn't know if they had any other redesigns or reroutes of anything else already planned. Is that a follow-up? Sure. Can somebody check into that to see if there's any?
I can certainly have continued conversations with the village on what that process is, exactly what the timeline is, and we can also follow up with the state to see if that would make a difference on reimbursement. And once again, if we decide that it's something that we want to do regardless of reimbursement, it's definitely something that we can do. We would just need that direction.
Okay. And Paul, D was brought out of the committee. If I'm sure Julie and Carla were there for a vote at this meeting, as I see it, it's on the agenda. So I'm not sure why we're pushing it back for more talks.
Okay. I don't have anything on that.
Yeah, we can certainly. It's on the agenda. We can certainly make a motion that if the board wants to move forward starting next school year to have pickups on the other side of the tracks. That's definitely something.
No, Mr. Cox, I'm talking about D. Yeah. I understand about C. We still have time on that one. I was talking about D. Sorry.
Yeah, and so with respect to all policy, the process is that we have an initial full board discussion. So as I'm interpreting this, and Ron, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that it was a recommendation out of committee. So we're having a first reading tonight. We will put something together to exactly show what that policy amendment looks like, and then we'll bring it back in May so everybody can see the exact verbiage, and that will count as a second reading, and we can do an approval then.
Thank you.
Of course.
Okay. All right. Then we'll try this again now. For the flooring and ceiling bid, action to approve the flooring and ceiling replacement bid to Precision Control System in the amount of $210,244.
So moved. Pappas.
Second, Hernandez.
Okay.
Okay, roll call. Ducius?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Pappas?
Yes.
Mazurik?
Yes.
Goldrick?
Yes.
And Weifel?
Yes. Can I have a follow-up to the, I couldn't, at the meeting I couldn't, I didn't know how to unmute myself, and I wanted to talk about that sidewalk. Are we redoing the sidewalk along the drive to high school, the one that runs parallel to the west drive? Because I kind of thought that might not be code. If we're redoing that, it needs to be elevated or some sort of separation. I don't mean like a physical separation. I mean like an elevation. So if we're going to be doing that sidewalk, can we make sure that that's code if we're redoing that? I didn't know if that was included. Does anybody know if that's included?
Yeah, so the sidewalk conversation is to redo the existing sidewalk as it comes out of the front door and then comes west out to the drive. That's cracked and heaved and is a safety hazard. The other part of the conversation is to have a new sidewalk extend straight north from the front doors out to Miller to create a student and all, not just students, but all people, traffic flow pattern. Also, Miller into the school that keeps people off the grass and mud and keeps us from having the front entrance of that building be a mess because of everything being trapped in.
Okay, so the sidewalk that runs parallel, that's not being replaced right now. The one that runs parallel to the drive, the other one. I mean, this would be like a second one. You know what I'm asking? The one that runs parallel to the driveway. That was okay. That's not even part of the conversation now. Then okay.
That's correct.
Okay. All right.
Okay. All right. We move on to fire detection equipment. I know Marla sent out additional payment from S&K. I don't have it in front of me, Marla, but it was like $70-some-hundred. Is that correct?
Yes, $7,590.
Okay. So I'll need a motion to approve the fire detection equipment for the price of the amount that Marta just said, the $7,000 and some dollars. $590.
Carla, I'll motion it.
Ducia, second.
Okay, roll call. Hernandez?
Yes.
Pappas?
Yes.
Mazurik?
Yes.
Goldrick?
Yes.
Weissel?
Yes.
And Ducia?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Do we have anything for? Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have anything for other?
Yes. This kind of goes with also the items for the next board meeting, but I hope that it would be much before there. And I have appreciated Ms. Diachenko bringing that up because I was going to say something. I feel that that we need to make sure that we are finished with Mr. Cox's contract, and I would like to request formally, because I've sent emails and stuff, but I haven't gotten much back, but I'd like to request formally that we would have a special board meeting to discuss Mr. Cox's contract as soon as possible.
Okay.
Much before the May board meeting, because, you know, as this goes on in the world of education and everything, it is getting to the point of pushing our good graces here, and we appreciate Mr. Cox's leadership and everything that he has done in the last couple of years, and we would like to make sure that that is solidified for the future of our district.
Okay, very good.
And can we make sure that on any of these policy committee meetings that we're reaching out to make sure that everybody's available? Because when you put them out there, some people are not, and I couldn't make the last one.
Yeah, the model that I was given is that to contact the chair of each committee to work through a date. So if the direction is on committee meetings, to not just work through the chair, but to work with all the individual members to try to come up with a specific common time, then that's something we can do as well. I just need that direction.
And Julie, I will follow up with Larry and try to come up with some kind of special meeting, or let him do it, or if he wants me to come up with it, we'll definitely keep in touch about it. Okay.
Okay. Thanks so much, Paul.
You're welcome. Okay.
This is Liz. I'll jump back to Ron's comment about notification and communication. Is that I think we as a board need to give Mr. Cox that specific direction, and would propose that we either vote on it, through a motion, so that we have the clarity around that direction, not only for us but for him as well. So, can we propose a motion? Ron, did you have a preference on notification, or do we want to keep it notification from the chairs, open it up to discussion from the board to gain clarity?
I would prefer that we just well, let's not make it hard on anybody else, but just like these committee meetings. If we can't, we have an alternate that could fill in for us. I mean, I know it was through Larry, but I think that right now with our leader's health and stuff, I understand that. But I asked for Carla. I don't know if she got to sit in or not. But if we have somebody as an alternate, I think that would work.
Okay.
So is the current state, then, I'll reiterate that Mr. Cox will be in contact with the committee chairs, then their direction is to communicate with the individual members?
Liz, that sounds great.
So the chairs are going to ask the other members? Is that what we're doing? I'm just clarifying.
That's Paul's call.
I'm sorry.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Can you repeat that?
I'm just trying to find out, because I was chairing a committee, and if I was supposed to contact the other members, I didn't know that.
Correct. I'm trying to obtain direction so that all of us and Mr. Cox know how to communicate with committee meetings. So trying to define Mr. Cox, I'll define it here, and then we can edit it in discussion. I'll propose that Mr. Cox contact the committee leads, like Ron suggested, and then the leads, the committee chairs, are responsible for contacting their individual members to confirm availability for committee meetings.
Okay.
Carla, did that answer your question? Ron, any additional?
Right. Okay. I didn't know I was supposed to do that before.
No, I like that, Liz.
Okay, trying to, I think that's what we're trying to clarify, Carla.
Okay. All right. That sounds good to me. Everybody else?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. All right. And,
thank you for that. Thanks, Ron.
All right, everybody. You guys have a good night. I'm ending this now. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks, Ron.
Bye-bye.
All right. Last, we've got the upcoming dates. Chamber Commerce have been canceled for the April 20th. That's all I have, so I'll have a motion for adjournment.
Could I follow up with some other additional items, Paul?
Sure.
Just thinking about items related to the COVID and pandemic situation that we're in. What other communications have gone out? For example, just wanted to check and see if, have AP-type communications gone out to the high school? Any other suggested calendar updates we should be thinking about as far as communications or frequently asked questions? A lot of districts are putting out there as well for their community and parents. Is any of that in the works? And then any potential plans thinking forward to graduation, whether it's a physical or dates and planning accordingly?
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of significant events as we move through and into a school year. And so things like, junior high promotions and high school graduations and proms and, what AP courses look like. I know that the building principals have been meeting with their teams and communicating as much as possible, as soon as possible, home to those students and parents, and will continue to do so. I'll make sure that with respect to those significant events, as soon as decisions are made, that the administrators will continue to put those updates in your board packet.
That would be appreciated. A couple.
Hello?
Go ahead, Carla. I can follow up.
Oh, no, I lost somebody. Did you hear me say that? I just lost everything.
Have other items in terms of future things like summer school as well, thinking through about that. What else? I would also documented that we think about both as a board and as a district reflecting on this situation, these circumstances, and for the future at some point, later on this summer, do something, whether it's a reflection, a lessons learned, a feedback exercise across our district, so that we can all learn and make improvements going forward. So would like to see that happen down the road. In addition, I was curious on the meals and providing additional food resources for our community. Has the resources around that been considered, or expanding that program at all?
No, we have not had conversation about expanding that program. We've been following the guidelines on making sure that on school days that our children who are in our free and reduced program continue to have access to that, and so that's what we've been focusing on.
Would the district be open to considering expanding that program?
I think we would. Again, we've been, just like anything else, we've been charting, the meals that we've been distributing. And if that program is to be expanded, that's definitely a possible conversation.
Yeah, I would be very interested if there's people out there now that are in need more than we normally have. I would definitely like to be able to, as a district, to be able to reach out to them, and if there's a need for it, definitely be able to try and help them out. That's another good reason, to have a little bit extra, savings to be able to help people out in need like this, especially in our own district.
And
right.
that's also a thing that a lot of churches do, and PTO could partner with and everything, because we do have to also remember that Mr. Cox and the other admins and the teachers and the food service and everything are working extremely hard right now and do have a lot on their plate. Not that I wouldn't want to make sure that we are helping the community or anybody else as much as possible, but they already do have quite a bit on their plate.
Yeah, I'm just saying if we can help more people, if there's more people in need. Last week at the food pantry here in town, I had people show up that I've never seen. I know who they were, but I've never seen them at the food pantry in the 9 years that I've been running it. So I do know that right now there is probably a special need, and I'm just saying if there's some way that we can reach out and help out to the people in our community, I think we definitely should look into the options of that.
If the board is interested in expanding that program to all students, that's definitely something that we can try to put into place after break.
Mr. Cox, I would also recommend that we, to that point, not just all students, but all community, and consider, what that might look like. I will also echo the comments of support and understand that workloads are heavy for the team right now, and happy to lend that hand, just like Paul said, to help with this. So please use your board members as support, because this is something I think we find valuable and a necessity that we can offer for the community.
And I'd be willing to help also.
I think that, yeah.
If anybody needs help with anything like that, Brad, please, I'm willing to volunteer wherever I can also.
And that goes for me too, Brad.
Yep, appreciate that from everybody. One of the things that I think we would have I think it's kind of a slippery slope if we start doing things not student related. I don't know that we can offer meals to the community. I would have to look into that a little bit. But I will also definitely look into expanding what that lunch program looks like after break.
Hey, Brad, real quick, Brad, I would think that program needs to be reevaluated just because people's positions at work, they've been laid off, and we haven't done no updating since that whole thing has happened. So I think that you'll find a lot more students that would need help at this time. My food pantry in South Heights is doing almost 70% more than what we did last month at this time.
It's a great point, Juan. Thank you.
Yep, I have some other practices that I've heard and seen across districts across Illinois that I'd be willing to share. So let me know when you want that information.
Thank you, Liz.
Okay. All right, does anybody have anything else? If not, I'll do the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Dujas. Second, Dujas.
All voice?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Good night.
Night.
Thank you, Marla, for all your help.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Be safe and be well.
You guys too.